My name's Jacklyn Smith. I'm the last tenant of the Lorraine Hotel. I've been here 36 years and a half. Visit my website, Jacklyn, Tennessee, fulfillthedream.net. I think we owe it to Dr. King to carry on his work to meet the needs of the paint, but all we get is this fancy building.
Jacklyn Smith was the last tenant of the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. She has devoted most of her life to upholding the principles of Dr. Martin Luther King. Born and raised in Memphis, Jacklyn Smith's aim is to relocate the National Civil Rights Museum and establish the Lorraine as a living testimony to Dr. King's dream. Shelter for the homeless, assistance for the needy, care for the elderly and infirm, end gentrification, help for the unemployed, support for drug, alcohol addicts, and help with the affordable housing in Dr. Martin Luther King Theological College. As the years passed, Jacklyn's personal ambitions changed. Her social awareness was heightened to the changing face of the world and on her own doorstep in particular, as to how Dr. King's message had become diluted. Jacklyn offered her services to the Lorraine Motel, helping to keep the dream alive by explaining the teachings of Dr. King and encouraging visitors to study the works of Dr. King.
50 years ago, a great American, in whose symbolic shadow we stand today, signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later, the Negro is still languished in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land. And so we've come here today to dramatize a shameful condition. In a sense, we've come to our nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as her citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient funds.